What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of That Scuffed Up. This is episode 26. You might be wondering, didn't you say last week Steven wouldn't be here? Well, guess what? He's back here. We're recording on a Monday night. He is back from a long trip out at UWIF's tournament. We'll talk about that a lot in the weeks coming up, but if you want to give us a preview, let me ask you, how are you feeling, and how did things go up there in York Penn?
Not doing the best right now, voice wise. The throat's pretty sore. A bit of a runny nose. Kind of started on that. The last flight we had was nonstop from Philadelphia to LAX, and stuff started getting worse with the throat. Maybe dehydration or whatever it was, but just not feeling the best. It was a very, very busy, taxing weekend. It was a very fun weekend, but we'll talk more about it next week. But it was a great environment out there. There got to be a lot of new people. Hopefully we'll talk to some more people to be able to kind of keep in touch and get the gist of what's going on out there, and be ready for next year. We had a very tough run. I will say that. We'll talk more about that all for the next week podcast. Maybe we'll have a couple of other teammates on as well. We'll see.
We would love to have that. Obviously evident that you caught something potentially, but obviously that's just kind of comes in with having to fly up there within a very short amount of time and then coming back from like a long day and all that type of stuff. But it seemed like you were having fun from what I was seeing. Saturday, I was directing a football game while also being a stage manager for a triple header broadcast that we had that day, so it's kind of hard for me to kind of keep track of everything. But obviously we keep in touch about those games and how things went. So yes, it was a rough patch, but I think the biggest thing is just getting experience and having fun up there, because not many people can say that they went to UWIF's International World Series or World Championship tournament and participated and then meet a bunch of MLW players and that type of stuff, and then all these amazing, really talented players that show up from all across the country and the world in one place.
Yeah. This was kind of my first big trip for wiffle ball. The first time for me meeting like everybody. Like there was pretty much anyone you wanted to meet was there. Some of my other teammates had gone to Arizona last year, so they had met a few people. But it was my first time. I was pretty much meeting everybody and things like that. So, we'll talk more about how I did and things like that on next week. But there'll be a lot to talk about, especially with the whole trip, what happened, and then also talk next week about the setup for the OC football playoffs and things like that.
Yeah, we're gonna have a pretty loaded podcast episode for that for sure, because with this, I'm about to mention that this is the last week of regular season play before the playoffs, and then we're going to jump straight into the winter season. But if you want to see all that, stay tuned for episode 27. But right now we got episode 26, but very good preview. We do have a lot to talk about in this episode, obviously, because we have to get this thing set up for this playoff picture and where everybody just kind of stands.
Yeah, we do. We're coming down to the home stretch here of this fall season. Just most teams have one game left. Some teams have two games left, but it's kind of the last push to see what seed people get. Some seats have already been clinched, but others are open are open. Some playoff spots are open. There'll be a couple teams that don't make it into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens with those as we go along for the season, or for this next week, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. And just let's go through some of these quick updates real fast. Winter season is just right around the corner. Got about a week before the price increases from 87 to 97 with existing teams. Obviously, you get to choose which division you want to be in. Unless you are a new team, then you'll be put in Division 2 for intensive purposes. The fall golf tournament registration is still up there, and we have a end of season pizza party this week. Unfortunately, by the time we are recording this, the price is going to go up to $7 instead of $5, but the purpose is to fundraise for a new pocket radar. And then one of the biggest things is that we are going to kind of work a new, kind of a different format of how we're going to do these podcasts a little bit. Still going to talk about the same exact things, but for the most part, trying to. Obviously, the league has got bigger. We have a lot of divisions, but talking about trying to give as much time as possible to all these teams who listen to our podcast week in and week out.
Yeah. We're trying to. We've heard feedback. We have some stuff we'll adjust, but we still we do this to make sure everybody has some sort of part of the podcast, as well as talking about some potential other stuff outside of OC relating to us. So please keep listening, keep enjoying it. So we keep doing this and providing people with good content that we're trying to spread the word more. I know there were a couple people I talked to that didn't even know we had a podcast, so hopefully they're going to be listening to this one soon. We can share this one a little more, kind of get more people to recognize the work that Justin and I are doing with this.
Yeah, it's a big time commitment. We both are very busy being able to put this out week in and week out. We do this because we love wiffle ball and we love sharing stories in terms of wiffle ball, because this is what we wanted to do for a long time, and we have had this set up for about 25 episodes, and we've seen a pretty interesting audience really follow this thing for a long time, and it's great to see that our work is paying off, being able to commit to this amongst the fact that we are doing this voluntarily rather than being paid. So it's great to see that it's starting to grow pretty well in those terms, and the league is growing as well, and everywhere else we're progressively pushing the agenda of wiffle ball in general. So it's great coverage for this, not just this podcast, for other people who also participate, like the guests on this show. So we appreciate all of you who watch this week in and week out, because you are the reason why we do these.
Yeah. I was just wiffle starting to spread a little bit. I mean, it was I had my jersey on there out at the Friday night fan fest during the home run derby. I was hitting with it on. So and then there was an Instagram post I made, the story I made about it. I think it was put on the page. So starting to spread the word a little bit more about OC wiffle ball and things like that. So yeah, but we're still here. We're still in the moment. We got some games to talk about.
Yeah, so I think we'll start off with talking about our previous week results, and then take a look at those standings where they look, because some things will change in this next week, that final play in this regular season. And then we also want to talk about the All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby. A lot of crazy things happened in that as well. We do have the stories. I unfortunately did not make it because was not feeling too great in the morning on Sunday. So I wasn't able to show up, but we had a very special individual win that home run derby, who we'll get to in a few moments and announce who that was. I mean, if you follow OC Wiffle Ball, then you already know who we're talking about. But if you weren't there and you're not following OC Wiffle Ball, then we'll talk about that, and that's why we do the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get into it.
All right, so playoff format, I do want to remind, Division 1, top 6 teams make it to the playoffs. Division 2, top 4, and purple is top 3 teams. That's how that works. Divisional round, championship round, and then obviously the World Series for Division 1. Those are applicable for those. But yeah, let's talk about the Division 1 stuff. Looking at Week 8, we got the first game, which is the Trash Pandas and the OC Wiffles of LA. This actually was a pretty interesting game from what I heard and what I saw for the most part. This was the first win for OC Wiffle Balls against this team, and it was off of a walk-off home run by Dominic Crony. Absolutely beautiful. What a great moment for that team to really pick themselves up after going through so much adversity this season. Yeah,
they've missed one of their better players. He had a good first week, but hasn't been there since. In Marquín Jimenez. So this team's battle, they've been unable to get the first win so far until this week. I believe this game went to 7 innings. Dominic Crony ended up hitting a game-winning. I think it was a 3-run homer, if I'm not mistaken. To be able to pull this off for them, so they get their first win, and that makes some things interesting with the Trash Pandas in the playoff situation, which we'll talk about later. They could have had a chance to really to start to really secure themselves a spot, but unable to here. But OC Wiffles, they've battled, they've been right in every single game, except for one of the games recently, but able to get that first win of the season, able to get the monkey off the bat, and we'll see how that translates to them for this next week and for next season.
Yeah, obviously, unfortunately, they're out of the playoff picture because they haven't been able to get too many wins. Obviously, this is their first win, but it's big because they've been looking to get a win this entire season. They've been in games a lot this year, and to be able to get this off of the walk-off home run is huge for them. And for me, I'm happy that they're able to get that win because they definitely seem very joyful after that.
Yeah, it was a big stress reliever for them. A little celebration going on there, but it was kind of it was a good moment for Dominic Carodi as well to get that game winning home run as the captain of his team. Good for them to come through and be able to get their first win of the season against the number four seed Josh Pandas.
Yeah, that was also a big moment for them. The fact that this game went into extra innings, though, did change a few things in terms of the schedule. OC Wolves of LA were originally supposed to play a continuation game against the Beach City Bombers. That has been moved to this next week, so they'll show up a little bit earlier. This is also something that we're watching as well. The other continuation game was between the MS Warriors and the Avocabros. Unless you want to talk about the OC Wiffles of LA versus Beach City Bombers, we'll save that for next week. MS Warriors and Avocabros in that game. High-scoring game, I should say, but MS Warriors come out on top, and that helped them secure a pretty good spot in the standings.
Yeah, with the MS Warriors, Avocabros, this one finished up pretty quickly. I think they just had to finish up the sixth or seventh inning, I believe. It was a pretty close game. The previous week for them. With that kind of secures that helps secure a first round bye for the MS Warriors. Is now just a matter of fact of what their standing is at the end of the year, whether they'll be the 1 seed or the 2 seed. Things could change. I mean, they do play the LA Wolves of OC this week. So who knows what could happen with that? If LA Wolves win, they would knock the MS Warriors to the 2 seed if the Purple Huskies win their game. So we'll see what happens with that. I'd be curious to. It might be an issue for the LA Wolves of OC because they've been in both games with each team, each of the top 2 teams above the Purple Huskies MS Warriors. Be interesting decision to see who they'd rather, if they get there, who they'd rather face in that semifinal there. Maybe the MS Warriors or Purple Huskies. I don't know what they would want to do.
I obviously the big thing is that whoever holds the number 1 seed should be a little bit afraid because of the curse. We've seen that plenty of times throughout the OC Wiffle history without win from the first seed, which we can talk about all day, especially when we get to the end of these regular season games, when we get the final playoff picture and how that looks. Like it kind of depends, like what's your choice? Like, do you want to be that number 1 seed, or do you want to play against a team that may not be as formidable as you believe it to be?
Yeah, this postseason could be a little different. I mean, that two seed has a chance to play the LOC, who have. Or those right now, the top 3 teams are the ones with a winning record. All the other teams are at least a game under 500 right now. So that could be a determining factor. I mean, every single game between that the LA Wolves have played versus Purple Huskies MS Warriors have been extremely close. Just come down to a couple runs, couple hits here and there. LA Wolves were pretty much leading in all those games at one point. So maybe it's a fact where they want the 1 seed just to avoid the Yellow Wolves if they were able to beat whoever the 6 seed will be, which is still undetermined. But we'll find out we'll find out after the next week what the final standings are. Maybe the Yellow Wolves will see would rather play the Purple Huskies, and they don't want to win the MS Warriors game against MS Warriors. Who knows? That could be a possible situation.
Yeah. It would definitely be a very interesting situation because those top three teams are very interesting to watch. One of the biggest things about this next game between the Purple Huskies and the LA Whiffles of OC, this would have given a chance to really kind of fight for either the second seed or the first seed if that was still a chance there. But this game in general was actually a tough fight between these two. This is a rematch from 2 weeks ago. Eliosa OC looked like they had some really good energy. They were really hitting pretty well. And then, unfortunately, towards the end of the game, in a tight situation, I hit a Oppo pop fly type of hit to the outfield into no man's land, and unfortunately Drake Hoffman made a trap catch out there in right field, and that's what ended the game 6-5. This was the final score between this team. But we've been looking for the fall of the Purple Huskies to get at least one blemish on their record, but unfortunately LA Wolves OC were not able to come through with that.
Yeah. Right away, OC Wolves got off to a hot start. They scored 4 runs in the first inning. Due to a Stephen Hayden triple and a Jordan Dressler 2-run home run. They were keeping the score low for the whole game. Jordan Dressler was pitching but well on the mound. Stephen Hayden was mixing a little in here and there. We got to the top of the 6th inning. LA were up 5-2 at that point. I'd been dealing with some arm issues the whole day. I was trying not to throw too much, but the 6th inning I did. Jordan already pitched 3 innings in a row. I didn't want, and they were starting to see him a little better. I didn't want him to. I didn't want to put him in a situation where he was potentially going to give up a leap. I thought I would do a little better, but I did not. My arm issues kept rising up. My arm was kind of tingling that whole day. I did some other football stuff earlier where whenever I threw, I felt like it almost felt like something was shooting through my arm. So I was trying my best to pitch through that, but I lost my accuracy. Ended up giving up 4 runs in the top of the 6th inning to give them a 6-5 lead. And then unfortunately, that last play of the game, I thought at first it was a drop. I thought he trapped it on the ground and then added his hands, which would have tied up the game. But after further review, it was determined it was a catch that ended up ending the game. So unfortunate for the Wolves, we'll see, but they are showing that they're right there with the top 2 teams, and that's going to be a very tough matchup for if things work out where the Wolves will see actually if they actually beat their 3 seed curse and win their first playoff game as a 3 seed. That could be a very dangerous matchup for that 2-3 game. So I'm curious how much the top 2 seeds are scared of the Wolves. We'll see in terms of having to play them in the semifinals versus the finals.
I think it definitely sends the right message because I think there was early struggles throughout the season with this team. They've had some absences with some of their guys, like obviously Greg was not present, Dustin was not present in this game, but obviously the core guys that have been there, like last season with Dylan, you, me, and Jordan, we've kind of held our own in situations, especially in this situation. It was a perfect storm. Maybe if we had another guy, maybe things would be different, but obviously the outcome of the game was just the fact that it was close, and that's what shows that your competitiveness, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great that LAWSO OC and Purple Huskies are able to hash it out, and I think that just makes it a lot more fun when you see 2 teams fighting each other competitively like that.
Yeah, Purple Huskies have been able to blow out a lot of teams and have a lot of success, but against the MS Warriors and LAWSO, they've had some pretty close games. So it could be very interesting to see as we get in the playoffs, especially with one of the matchups we'll talk a little bit later. The MS Warriors and Purple Huskies taking each other on, but that'll be for a little bit later. We got some other stuff to talk about first, actually, including the MS Warriors.
Yeah, so us talking about the same line of competitive games, Shepherd's Pine versus MS Warriors. This was also very interesting with this game. Did not expect a very high scoring game, but the latter is what happened here as a 10-11. This game also very close, but MS Warriors do manage to edge out. If they did lose this game, and if they lost the game against the Avocados, that would have allowed LAWSO OC to assist a little bit into getting into those higher seeds, but MS Warriors showing why they're a very good team and how they finish games, and that's exactly evident in this one.
Yeah. These two played each other close in week one. I think it was a 7-2 game. Very very close game here. I think some mistakes from Shepherd's Pie caused them to lose this one, from what I've heard. And this one, I mean, the second win of the day for the MS Warriors really puts them in a put them in a great situation. Whereas for Shepherd's Pie, it puts them on the outside looking in. They currently sit in the 7th seed, 3-8, with the Beach City Bombers at 3-7, just ahead of them. They're looking to try to make a push into there. They have those two do play each other. The Beach City Bombers have to finish up their game versus OC Wolves of LA as well on this coming Tuesday, so that will be a big determining factor for that 6th seed. If both of them were to win a game, that could make a difference for the trash pans. If they were to lose both their games, that could be interesting. I'm not sure how that would all work out, but with that actually, MS Warriors are they're still technically the 2 seed, but they still have a game. MS Warriors do still have a game ahead though, so they're put as the 1 seed for right now because they have the tiebreaker advantage right now over the MS Warriors. I mean the Purple Huskies. So we'll see. We'll see if this is the year that Dill gets to the World Series. This is his 4th season. He hasn't quite got there yet. He's been stopped in the semifinal every year. So we'll see if this is the year that they do it. If they finally get to their first World Series. As for Shepherd's Pie, we're going to find out if they're able to get that final win for Beach City Bombers in a very important Week 9 game.
Yeah, very reminiscent of Dan Marino's career, getting very close to a Super Bowl, but just not being able to make it there. Maybe that narrative will change in this playoffs, but that's yet to be seen. Moving on, though, we do have Avocado take on Beach City Bombers. Some of the things that have been clearly stated is that Beach City Bombers are in an interesting situation now that Zach Moore is not going to be able to make these games. So it's tough for them without that extra guy, but they have potential. They have really good potential still to be able to at least fight for some type of playoff ramification. But Avocabras, they always fight in those middle part of the standings, and that's exactly what they did, beating Beach City Bombers 7-1 in their game.
Yeah. For the Avocabras, I think they've all but guaranteed themselves at least a playoff spot. Still would have to determine which playoff spot that would be. It could be anywhere from the 4 seed to the 6 seed still. The top 3 seeds are locked in Division 1. No one's going to be able to catch up to those teams. So our combos could be anywhere from 4 to 6. And that's going to be some interesting matchups as we get into the playoffs. Now they're starting to show they're able to keep teams to low amount of runs while being able to still put up a decent amount of runs. Not as many runs as they are accustomed to putting up, but able to grind out a win. Does help the Beach City Bombers right here, though, especially without Zach Moore for the rest of the year. And who knows about even the winter season if he's going to be around. But a very big 5-6 matchup that happened here, and Avocado was able to come out on top.
Yeah, I do want to mention that Beach City Bombers have at least 2 chances to kind of fight for that playoff spot. The tiebreaker would likely be against Shepherd's Pie later down the week, as the standings hold right now, which we'll talk about after we talk about this last game, which is basically the game of the week, in my opinion, between the MS Warriors and the Purple Huskies. This is the fight for that 1 seed, and lo and behold, the MS Warriors take down their rival brethrens in the Purple Huskies, and Purple Huskies get handed their first loss of the season, 11-5. The final score. MS Warriors put themselves in great position for the playoffs.
Yeah, this is the first time Purple Huskies have lost in the regular season since the spring of 2023. They went the whole summer season undefeated. They went 14-0. Then so far at this point, they were 10-0 before falling here to the MS Warriors. MS Warriors got off to a quick start. They scored 10 runs, I believe, in the first inning. A lot of hitting going on, especially from Dylan Hoffman and Shaden Hendrickson. Both having a great day great first inning at the plate. And it was plenty enough for them to be able to keep that lead. And then with tiebreaker stuff, if they were to win both of their games, they would clinch the 1 seed. And then they would play the winner of the 4-5 matchup, which is obviously still undetermined, as we've mentioned. But That could be a possibility of avoiding the other Wolves of OC in that 2-3 matchup. However, MS Warriors do play 2 games, one of them including being the other Wolves of OC. So if they were to lose one of those games, Trash Pandas were to win their game against the OC Wolves of LA, Purple Huskies would obviously be the number 1 seed given the record, and that would be the MS Warriors' second loss of the year. So two teams that are very close to each other. I mean, as it literally close. I mean, each team has a Hoffman twin on it. Each team has a Hendrickson brother on it. So there was some trading between the two teams of guys. Like guys like Joey Potter and Kyle Fruit going over to the Purple Huskies, while Shane Hendrick is going over to the MS Warriors. So we'll see how this last week shapes up. But both of these teams have secured those top 2 seeds, but a little bit of a fall there for the Purple Huskies. They could put that 1 seed that having that second straight that obviously has and that possibility of having a second straight perfect season.
Yeah, I do want to say it's extremely confusing with the guys that keep moving around between teams each season and thinking like, oh man, I thought they were on this team and that team. But obviously they're two of the better teams in this league. Especially Division One has been a whole different monster to handle, but obviously they've been able to adapt well to that change and consistently figure out teams and know how to win games. And they're both holding on to the top seeds. So now, as I transition to the Division One standings, I mean they hold it right there. They have secured a clinch. They've clinched the first round bye already, and then Eliwisa OC have clinched the playoff berth, so they don't need to worry too much. But obviously, they want to fight at least for the 3rd and 4th seeds because that puts them in a better position to have the advantage somewhat against these other teams. And then Trash Pandas and Avocabros in the 4th and 5th spot. As it seems right now, they have the same amount of losses, even though the Trash Pandas have one less win than the Avocabros. I think the biggest thing is the run differential, if I'm not mistaken, with that, or the amount of gains behind. It's all complicated, obviously. And then Beach City Bombers and Shepherd's Pie have a good chance of still trying to get in there. OC Wolves of LA obviously have been knocked out of contention.
Yeah, that's how the table shapes out right now. LA Wolves are guaranteed that 3 seed. I'm pretty sure the Avocados are guaranteed a playoff spot. I think so. I think there's a very slight chance they can miss the playoffs, but I personally see them making the playoffs. It's just a determination of whether it be the 4, the 5, or the 6 seed. It all depends on how the games go this week. Trash Panda still fighting in there, beating Beach City Bombers and Shepherd's Pie. In a very close race for that last spot right now. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake up with this last week. You could see here with some of the teams having the tiebreaker advantage over the others. For example, like the Trash Pandas have the tiebreaker over the Avocados, it seems, and the Beach City Bombers have the tiebreaker over the Shepherd's Pie. So we'll see how these final matchups shape out. In general, it's gonna be a race to the finish. Especially with the Avocados and the Trash Pandas do play each other this week, as well as Beach City Bombers and Shepherd's Pie do play each other this week. So gonna be interesting to see how this one finishes, and we'll be keeping a close eye on it on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I'm just also very glad I don't need to voluntarily read out playoff scenarios like we did last season, where you just take a nap while I do that.
As I should.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're just gonna keep an eye on it, let it play out, and see how this picture looks. This being the last week of games being played, because the reason why we had those scenarios is because it depended on the game's day of, and then you play your respective playoff game, and then that's when you move on to like the divisional round or whatever. So that's just kind of how that went. But don't need to read out any of those. That's just where the standings are, and then everyone knows the schedule of what's going on this week, and now we can move on to Division 2.
Yeah, yes, we can. Yeah, we start off here. First Division 2 game in the night. You have Wiffle D's taking on Whoosh. You have the 2 seed versus the 4 seed going out of here. Whoosh battling here to try to get themselves into the playoffs. End up getting a big win over the number 2 seed Wiffle D's. in a 4-1 ball game, very low scoring, especially for both teams who do have two of the higher powered offenses in Division Two. But Woosh able to get a huge advantage in the standings, move themselves to 6-5. Wolfaldies didn't have to worry too much about that because they had already clinched a playoff spot at this time. So what were your thoughts? Just so your thoughts on Woosh getting a victory over the number 2 seed Wolfaldies and keeping themselves in that playoff run.
Yeah, I mean, we knew Woosh knows how to fight because they have good talent on that team. They're in the middle of the pack right now. They started off the season very strong this year. We know they have really good potential. We know they can be a playoff team. Being able to take down Wiffle D's in this game definitely sends a message to the rest of Division Two that says, "Hey, we're still here. We can dominate, and we have a chance to at least really fight for extra seeding in the playoff standing." So I thought it was great to see that they can hash it out with the top 2 teams in the league. Obviously, Wiffle D's being one of those.
Yeah, I mean we've seen from Woosh they've had success against the top teams. They handed the Seals their one loss so far this year, very early on. But then they've had some struggles. They've had some guys missing, things like that. So it's gonna if they have all the guys there, Woosh has a very good chance of making it to the World Series. But the situation they're in right now with the 4 seed. Looks like they would have to play the OC Seals in that first round, so that could be a bit of a difficult issue. But it should be an interesting battle to the end for that.
Yeah, I mean, once we talk about the standings about Division Two, it's a very interesting story of what's about to go down. I have to apologize for this little mishap, but we forgot to talk about Beach City Bombers versus LA Wolves of OC.
Well, this is the second time in a row one of our teams is our team is been considered a Division Two team.
Yeah,
it happened. It happened once week 7. One of our games was listed as a due-to game on accident, and the same thing happened with this week. So, we things happen. Just incorrect labeling, and it happens. It's not that big of a deal. But
yeah, not that big of a deal.
We could talk about that one quickly. It shouldn't take too long.
Yeah, I guess I should have caught that earlier, but that just happens. When you're.
I did catch it, but I forgot.
Okay, that's fair. All right. Well, anyways, let's reverse back to Division One. We have LA Wolves of OC taking on Beach City Bombers. Again, Beach City Bombers without Zach Moore, it's been a struggle for them to really produce some wins and find that second pitcher. It's been tough for them, but LA Wolves of OC starting to pick the gear up a little bit. And it was also very evident in this game. The score 8-2, the final score. LA Wolves of OC allow themselves to keep themselves secured in that third spot.
Yeah, this one really kind of settled themselves into that third spot there. I saw some different pitching for the Wolves of OC. Jordan Dressler pitched very well in that game. Pitched the first 4 innings, didn't allow a single run. Funny enough, the man who allowed the Beach City Bombers got 2 runs off. Technically, didn't pitch in the game. It was Justin Lee who gave up 2 runs and didn't record now, so he technically didn't pitch. But had an infinite ERA for this game, but I came in for 1 inning to help shut the door. And then Dill Medji making his first full inning appearance, did not allow a run. Had a couple walks in there. I don't think he had a strikeout, but he had some defensive plays behind him to help him out. But I believe there's a grand slam in this game from Stephen Hayden. He's trying to make that MVP push, try to go for back-to-back. He's got some great numbers to be able to try to do that again, leading the leaderboard in a lot of things such as hits, average, singles, things like that. So maybe he's on track to get another MVP award. It's close right now between guys like him, Shaden Hendricks, and even James Lee's in that conversation. But another good win for LA Wolves of OC as they lost a heartbreaker in their first game. And so that was a game they wanted. They would have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, the biggest thing about this game was, the fact that Dylan Menji has somehow become the best pitcher on the team besides Stephen Hayden. I'm just kidding, but it was great to see Dylan Menji get some fun little playing time in there. Obviously, my outing didn't go so well. Having a good outing the last time out, and then obviously struggling here, but I can't blame anything on certain things. It's just got to get in the zone when it needs to instead of relying on warm up so much. So I'm holding myself accountable for allowing those runs in that game. But it was just the situation allowed it to be so. Obviously being up by a pretty good lead, and then going into the fifth inning, said why not try it? Especially with your arm starting to go a little haywire a little bit, I think it was a safer bet to at least let some other people try it, save your arm because you're participating in a big tournament. So, and I know Dustin was advising against pitching in these games, but obviously we definitely needed it with the absence of Greg and Dustin not being there.
Yeah, we were able to have some fun with it. But as for the Beach City Bombers, that is their second loss. A win on the day would have helped their playoff chances a lot, but fortunately puts them in a tough situation here, where the best they could be is the fifth seed, or possibly even the best they could be is the sixth seed. But right now they're in that battle for that sixth, seventh seed. So they're going to need a win versus the OC Wolves of LA in their continuation game. That could help a lot. The big one's going to be that game, Shepherd's Pie versus Beach City Bombers. So we will see what happens as we get to that.
Absolutely. Well, now we can go back to Division 2 now, and we can talk about another really big game. This was the interesting one as well, OC Seals versus the 47ers. The 47ers, we know, is a new team this year. They have been striving to set a precedent that they are a pretty good team, which they are. They're put upon the results of this game, it puts them in the third seed of Division 2. And OC Seals get handed their second loss of the season, which I did not expect to see for a while.
Yeah, the OCCOs with a win here, they would have clinched the one seed. They've already clinched a playoff spot, as have Wiffle D's going into this week. But no Zach Island there for the OCCOs, and it seems to have made a difference, whether it be hitting or pitching or both. 47, very, very, very close game here. 47 is just able to get that one run, able to play some good defense and have some time, some good pitching and timely hitting. But OCCOs, it is a little worrying for them. Not being able to score and run in this game is a little scary, as given the fact this could be, this could be a matchup they potentially see in the first round or the World Series. So we'll have to see how things shake out. The Seals still one away from clinching that one seed, which I'm pretty certain they're going to clinch that one seed. They do play 2 games next week, so they have 2 shots at it. But with one of those being against the Pacific Thrashers, and the other will be against the Bad News Stingers, I'm pretty certain they're going to win at least one of those games. So they got to wait 1 week to get that 1 seed. Wiffle D's have kind of secured themselves in that 2 seed right here. We'll talk more about that in a bit, but big win there for the 47ers, kind of keep their playoff hopes alive and put them a game ahead of that playoff draw cutoff.
Yeah, certainly. Just OC Seals, I did not expect them to get that loss like that. But 47ers obviously proving why they have some pretty good talent on their team to compete with some really good players like those baseball prospects that the OC Seals have. That Ryan Lavelle has put together an interesting team this season, and obviously making a message that they might be able to compete in Division 1. So that's yet to be seen once we get to the winter season, but obviously here and now is talking about that team who have been great. Obviously you want to secure the first round bye, but 47ers are able to fight their way through and actually really help themselves out a little bit.
Yeah, they are. With their next result, we'll talk about. They put themselves a game above the 5th seed. And just keep their playoff hopes alive. They probably sit in the 3 seed with a win in their next game. I'm pretty sure that would help secure them a playoff spot at the minimum. They got to play Wiffle D's, so it could be very tough. It will probably be a very tough matchup between those two. But Big win for the 47ers could mean a lot. It could even mean they would actually move up to the 2 seed if they were to win that game. If I'm not mistaken, so it could be a big difference maker there.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I mean, OC Seals already have a bunch of wins at the first seed, so I think the only chance that they fall off at the first seed is if Wiffle D's somehow manage to win these games out, which we can talk about in just a second. But this next game will help me lead into that, which is the Pacific Thrashers taking on the Bad News Dingers. Bad News Dingers have been interesting of sorts. They actually have been playing pretty well in Division 2 at times, and they won this game 23-1 with huge double-digit numbers.
Yeah, it really helped them boost that run differential. Puts them down at positive run differential. They came in with a -4 run differential from -3. But I think it was -4, and now they sit with a +19. That could make a difference as we get into the finals regular season games. But they do have the OC Seals next week, so they're gonna have to win that game if they want to give themselves a shot at the playoffs. Otherwise, they will be officially knocked out. So. Bad News Demons have had times they look real good in Division 2. They played the Seals very close that first week. Ended up giving up 11 runs to them in the last inning to lose the game. Otherwise they would have an extra win. The OC Seals would have an extra loss. Bad News Demons, they're not in control of their own destiny right now. They're gonna have to fight if they want to be able to get to the playoffs and knock either Whoosh or the 47ers out.
Yeah, certainly, and that'll allow me to lead into it because Bad News Dingers still have a chance to at least get into the playoffs for Division 2 because obviously the top 4 teams can only make it, but they need a little bit of help because Whoosh is taking on Pacific Thrashers. They need Whoosh to lose that game, but they need to beat a tough team in the OC Seals this week if they want to get that playoff spot. So ramifications there throughout all the top 5 teams, with the first seed being the OC Seals. If Wiffle D's actually do win some of these games, then they actually will become the first round bye in the top.
Well, let's be clear on the division rules, just so no one gets confused by that.
Okay.
There is no bye for Division 2. It's just the top 4 teams make it. The 1 plays the 4, the 2 plays the 3, so that can make a difference in terms of who the teams want to play and things like that. And our team's gonna be able to make it or not. So, just to be clear, there is no bye Division 2. We go straight to the championship series or out of the semifinals. So that's the situation with that. Just to be clear.
Okay, then I apologize for that mishap on information. Well, I mean, it still does set us a pretty interesting precedent that some of those seeds can switch, and we might see a lot of different combination of matchups here, because all these teams can really have a chance to switch up the bracket here, so to speak.
Yeah, they can. It's just gonna be who's ready to play, who's willing to, who's ready to come out with a big win. It's gonna be very interesting to find out.
Yeah, it certainly will be, and if you really like competitiveness, then Division 2 might be a good place to look if you're a spectator of OC Wiffle Ball and watching some of these games. So keep an eye out for that this week and what's going on in there.
Yep.
All right, well, with the Purple League, obviously the top 3 teams make it, but I do want to mention that we won't talk about it as in depth. We really haven't been talking about that league too much in depth because it is just for fun for the most part. The Glizzy Gladiators have a live stream. You can watch those videos. They're very interesting, and even the mic'd up stuff is really cool that they're doing. So that's just the one thing I kind of want to talk about with that. Unless you've got something you want to talk about those teams.
Well, you can see two of them. You see the standings. 2 of them have clinched a playoff spot. Wiffle Pancake Batters are battling for that final spot. They don't play each other, but both teams both have 1 game. Wiffle plays the Sheeps, Pancake Batters play the Glizzy Gladiators. So some seeding on the line there for these last few games, but the Sheeps and the Glizzy Gladiators are guaranteed to be in the playoffs. It's just be kind of who has the bye going into the World Series and who has to play that 2-3 matchup and things like that. So that'll be something to watch for. Other than that, signups are going on for the Purple League. Currently, right now, the changes prices will change as we get to October 13th. So make sure if you're interested in join the Purple League, you can do the Purple League and Division 1/Division 2. You can't do both Division 1 and 2. You can only do one of them, but you can do either one of them and the Purple League. So check that out. If you got a team you want to sign up, you go for it.
Yeah, certainly. I think we set this story that we want to have some fun teams who just don't want to play as competitively. But if you feel like you want to play competitively and just for fun, then you have the option to do both. And you can check that out on the registration/store in OrangeCountyFootball.com. Okay, well, we got the Week 8 results out of the way. We've talked about Week 9 just a little bit, so keep an eye. If you are following the emails, make sure you know which games you're at for Week 9, and good luck to everybody this week, and we will see what happens in the next episode. But now we can talk about the All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby that just happened this previous Sunday as we are recording this. Let's start off with the Home Run Derby, since that's the first event that happens at Newport Beach.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, for the first time, especially for me, I wasn't at the All-Star Game or Home Run Derby. I've been in it ever since I've been in the league every season, but I was obviously away at the United Football Tournament. York, Pennsylvania, unable to make it. So had Jordan go out there representing OC Wolfsville, OC, and Jordan was able to come away with a victory in the Home Run Derby. I know he's had a little bit of success in the past. He made it to the second round a couple times, but able to get the victory over Ryan Swanson in the final. From what I was being told, Jordan was just on a hot streak. He was taking a lot of warm swings to try to get the swing correct for the for the Home Run Derby. It seemed to pan out. He got 13 home runs to win in the last round. And for what it sounds like, he could have kept going, but once he got the 13, he already won. So, congrats to Jordan Dressler. He'll win that award as we get to the end of the year. But
I mean, it's certainly big because he's such an integral member of the LA OC. Obviously, didn't get an award for last season, but it's great to see that he is able to get that out there. Obviously, Zach Moore, I believe, wasn't there for sure, but he was the previous Home Run Derby champion. But it's great to see that Jordan actually, he earned an award for himself, really putting it out there against Swanson in the Home Run Derby. So congrats to him. I don't think he would have won if I was pitching for him. So good thing I wasn't there.
Yeah, you've had some struggles pitching the Home Run Derby in the past.
Yeah, that's probably why we don't really have a lot of LA Wolves OC members winning the Home Run Derby. So that's probably a good thing.
It's the first time that organization, as long as it's been around, it's the first time they've won it. I normally do awful these Home Run Derbies. Friday night I was competing in my own Home Run Derby. We'll talk about that next week. You actually did pretty well in the Home Run Derby last summer, but were unable to get into the final. You got knocked out in the second round, as I think Jordan might have as well.
Yeah,
Jordan able to get the job done this year.
Yeah, I had a big number of home runs in those rounds, but there was a lot of wind contributing, and obviously it was pretty competitive, but there's people that obviously edged out way farther than what I had in that Home Run Derby, so... oh my god. Okay, but yeah... okay. Fair enough. Well, anyways, so, Home Run Derby, congrats to Jordan Drexler, first time ever in LUSOC history. Nice crack. We can get into the All-Star Game.
Yeah, what do you got for us? I've heard some stuff, but what do you got for us?
Oh, I was chilling out on my couch, so I don't know exactly what was going on over there. But I did see some good stories on the OC Football page. Didn't get the whole story about it, what happened there, but 16-8 win, according to what we had recollected from that. So James' team was one of those participating in there. Their team lost obviously, and we had Tyler Moore that also participated on that team. Had 7 hits in that game.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have more of the full story next week for the podcast. We'll briefly go over because we don't want to do it a disservice by not recognizing it more. But same with the summer wind played a big factor in this one. It being a 16-8 game. I got this info from James Lee. So the team that James Lee on was that lost. I don't know the team name who was on each team, but I'll figure that out soon. But as he mentioned, Taylor Moore did have 7 hits in the game offensively, but they lost, so they were. He will not be getting the All-Star Game MVP, but it sounds like it was kind of James Lee kind of struggled on the mound a little bit. They gave up 8 runs, which is very unlike James Lee. So that he saw that's kind of the difference maker in the game and stuff like that. So he said the teams were split well. He put the loss on himself, so he's taking the accountability for that. I mean, it's a fun event. It's not too much of a giant deal, but we'll have more info for that next week.
Yeah, we'll try to see to get some storylines on that. So that's partially my fault for not being able to make it, but that's just we kind of got to report what happened in that game for the most part. But great to see that the wind is also a factor because it's really kind of made these games high scoring like we did over the summer when Steven's team got his first win, but it was extremely high scoring in that game, and it was a lot of fun because the All-Star game every season that we do it turns out to be pretty fun when we have a lot of great players being able to make it out there to the beach and just having a good time. I think there were donuts being given away. I think Anthony usually does that every single All-Star game as well. Judging from the video, it looked like they were on the other side of that little grass field instead of the usual spot that we do it.
Yeah, it looks like they were pitching into the wind. I think they learned a lesson from the summertime, the summer All-Star game in which it was very hard to pitch. I was still able to get 2 1/3 innings in a 4-inning game. That's part how I was able to get the MVP of the All-Star game this summer, but. Able to pitch into the wind. It's a very different environment out there, as I'm sure some people saw that went out there for the first time. They saw how different it was out there, and that's what we see with some of these offset series. It's really this is the only time we'll see Wolf Balls going outside of a Tuesday night to play. A couple of the other events ended up getting canceled, so we'll see what keeps happening as we. I don't know where I was going there, but All-Star was always a fun time. Able to get a good amount of people out there to do both the Home Run Derby and the All-Star game. So, we'll be ready for the next one in the winter season, which will be coming around pretty soon. But now people are able to they're able to see each other on a weekend for the first time this year, and now it's kind of focused back into Tuesday night. And some teams are going to try to secure themselves a playoff spot.
Yeah, and that's the big trend line of the week that we got coming up here. So that's all the kind of the topics we kind of really wanted to touch in this episode, which is great. But let me give you a little preview of what we got going on the next couple episodes. Next week, we will obviously talk about Steven's U-WIFs tournament up at York Penn a little more in depth. We'll talk about what happened in week 8 in this final week of play that's about to happen. Week 9, yes. And then playoff ramifications, how everything kind of shapes out. And then the episode after that, we potentially will have a guest, depending on what happens. That, or we just talk about the potential award winners for the season, fall 2023. And then, obviously, winter season is going to literally kick right in after the week after, which is October 24th. I mean, if you wanted to call this a whole season instead of just calling it fall and winter season, basically that's what's happening. We just have in like a mid-season like playoff picture, and then we jump into the next season right after that. Like that's literally just what's happening in the league now.
Yeah, that's what it kind of feels like it's happening here. So we got to be ready for a very quick turnaround. In the past, there's only a fall season, but now there's a fall and winter season. So make sure that if you are looking to sign up, make sure you set up your team. Your team and try to do it soon. Try to do it before October 13th. This will come out a couple days before that. So make sure to figure out with your team. Who's coming back, who wants to keep playing and things like that. I've got to figure some stuff out with my two teams, but it should be looking for a good winter. Hopefully the events will happen this coming winter. There's a couple events that are planned out, and things like that. So we'll see what happens as we get into this final week here. We get into the playoffs. We'll talk about playoff predictions and all that stuff, and next week as we get the playoff format for who's going to be in which seed. We'll talk about some award winners. And next week is definitely going to be a longer episode. This one's a little shorter. Next one's going to be a long episode. So if you're interested, be ready for that.
Yeah, buckle up for sure. We've got a lot of content kind of saved up for that episode. And that's just kind of how things are kind of trickling down because we had all these like stories. We got the playoffs. We talk about predictions because we love talking about those and seeing who kind of gets the best of each other in those predictions. Obviously, I can't say what happened with summer playoffs, but that's just...
We can.
We can. We
lost.
Yeah,
it happens.
Our predictions didn't go the way that we wanted it to, but that's just how it goes.
Whoa. I predicted the World Series winner correctly.
In spring.
Excuse you. Well, I did as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's true then. So
I'm 2 for 2 on the podcast.
We'll see if Steven is 2-0 on the podcast.
I already am. Let's see if I go 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0.
I'm undefeated, never lost.
We'll see if I can get my first prediction win or whatever for continuity purposes. I do want to remind everybody that the golf tournament happens on October 22nd at Strawberry Farms Golf Club. 18 holes, first tee time at 10 a.m. in the morning. We'll see if Joe Reese can hold on to his unbeaten streak once again, putting up PGA numbers, which I'm still appalled to as how he's playing wiffle ball and not playing professional golf, but that's just my opinion. He's really good at golf. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I mean, I know that Donald LeConte and Min are right up there in terms of golf ability. Maybe this is the time for them.
Yeah, just don't choose me as your running mate for that because obviously I will hold you down.
If you're going, that is.
If I'm going. We'll see. I could be busy for that. But for the most part, I think we've kind of covered the vast majority of what we needed to discuss. This is obviously a shorter episode than previously known, but that's kind of what we wanted it to be after feedback. Obviously, the next episode, we can't make it shorter because we have so much stuff that we have to cover. So be ready for that and buckle up for episode 27 as that will come very, very soon.
Yeah, next episode may be the biggest one that we've had so far, not just in terms of length, but also in terms of the quality, the amount of stuff going on. So stay tuned for that. We'll be sharing that one pretty hard.
100%. Well, I think we are good to go on a wrap on episode 26 of that Scuffed Up. You got any final thoughts you want to share before we get out of here?
I'm tired. I need to go to sleep.
All right, let's actually.
I'm not feeling great still.
Let's wrap this up.
I apologize for wiping my nose so much, and I've had tissues and I ran out of tissue, so I've been trying to do what I can, but the nose is running. I'm not feeling great, so hopefully I'll be better tomorrow for Tuesday night.
Well, let's wrap this up so we can get Steven to bed so he can get his energy back and be ready for tomorrow's games. So let's do that. This has been Justin Lee and Stephen Hayden. If you don't follow OC Wiffle Ball Instagram, make sure you go do that as well, and all of our Hunky Dory Sports Show content included. And I think we're good to go to see you guys in episode 27 coming up next week. This has been Justin Lee, Stephen Hayden on That Scuffed Up episode 26. We shall see you guys all next week, and good luck this week.